Is everyone ready? So today I'm going to talk about a sport that I really enjoy, but a lot of people don't know a lot about, and that is hockey. Now, half of my family is from Canada, and I hold dual Canadian-American citizenship, and I've realized that my Canadian relatives tend to know a lot about hockey, and in general, everyone in Canada does, but a lot of people in America don't know a whole lot about hockey, and I would like to help change that with this speech. So I will inform you guys about 3 areas of hockey that I think are pretty important and that a lot of us don't know a lot about. And those are the history of hockey, kind of the rules of hockey, and hockey's impact on culture in a lot of northern nations. Now, to start off with history, hockey has a lot longer history than I think most people think. The first Stanley Cup was awarded in 1893, which is before the NFL was founded, and only 2 years after the entire sport of basketball was invented. So hockey's been established for quite a long time. The Stanley Cup has been awarded every year since 1917. So it has quite a long history as far as that goes. According to Arthur Pincus, the 1960s and 70s were kind of the golden age of hockey because of a lot of the legendary star players from that area, and it actually kind of closed out with about halfway through the career of Wayne Gretzky, who is probably one of the hockey players that pretty much everyone has heard of. And then today, hockey is continuing to expand its influence. It's becoming more popular in southern areas because of the success of NHL teams from non-traditional hockey markets, I guess, like the Tampa Bay Lightning have been to the Stanley Cup twice recently, and the Los Angeles Kings won the Stanley Cup in 2012. So a lot of teams from further south than like Canada or Minnesota have been doing very well in hockey, and that's helped it increase its popularity elsewhere. Now, the second point is that of rules in hockey, and that I'm talking about this because a lot of people don't really think that hockey really has rules. It's kind of stereotyped as being a sport where you can just fight whenever you want, which isn't true. The NHL actually has a rule on hockey fighting that says that fighting can only happen when play is stopped, and it can only happen if both of the people involved in the fight really agree to it, and if those aren't really followed, then that's a game misconduct penalty, and it usually results in a suspension, but in other cases it doesn't really result in anything, which is pretty different from most other sports. And in addition to there being like actual written rules about fighting, there's kind of a code that hockey players follow, which, I mean, not only that, it says that not only that you can't fight someone that doesn't want to fight. Usually, in fact always, both of the people fighting will take off any of the protective equipment that could be harmful to them or to their opponent in a fight, which is like gloves and their helmets. And they agree that when one person goes down, the fight's over, and they agree to generally accept the result of the fight, even though that's not written in official NHL rules. It's kind of something that everyone that plays hockey understands needs to happen. And the final kind of issue under rules is that of physical contact during play. This used to be a lot more of an issue where a hockey player could check another hockey player into the boards and give them a concussion or something like that without any penalty. And in the last 10 or so years, the NHL has introduced sets of rules to try and reduce the amount of that violent of physical contact during play in hockey, and therefore reduce concussions, kind of like what the NFL is doing. And finally, I'd like to talk about hockey's cultural importance in a lot of northern countries. Like Canada and Finland are the only 2 countries where hockey is the most popular sport, but it's the second most popular sport in most of northern and central Europe, which is like Norway, Sweden, and Russia, as well as Germany, and even as far south as Slovenia, which is right kind of, it's actually on the Mediterranean Sea if you look at a map. So hockey is really important to a lot of northern countries and a lot of European countries. The World Cup of Hockey actually just finished last week, and the NHL season starts this next week. And in that, all the teams that made it to the semifinal round, the only one from North America was Canada. The U.S. didn't make it. The other countries that made it were Russia, Sweden, and Team Europe, which is made up of all of the countries that are too small enough to field their own national team. And in addition to that, hockey is really an important part of Canadian culture. It's just something that everyone grows up with, and that's even true in the United States and a lot of the northern states like Alaska and Minnesota, North Dakota, New England area. And according to H.J. Mai, who's a sports columnist, hockey's popularity is actually continuing to increase both in Europe and the United States. And so I hope that as Americans come to understand the sport of hockey and appreciate it better, that it can increase in popularity even further. Thank you.